So the question was posed, tell us about your favourite thing. So I had to think. I'm a photographer. Naturally, it might be some of my gear. Maybe it's this camera. Or this one. Actually, this is definitely a favourite. I've done some pretty good things with this lens. Oh no, this one. This one is definitely a favourite. My electric car. Now, I love this thing. I mean, it ain't no Tesla, but this is still one of the funnest cars I've ever owned. You can't talk about Jason's cars without talking about his Kombi. You cannot talk about favourite vehicles without talking about this one. And yet, if I had to pick anything to cruise around in, it would almost definitely be this. Wait. Maybe, just maybe, is it my bed? Because I love sleep. Books, maybe? My Kindle? But the real question was, tell us your experience with your favourite thing. And that's a different question altogether. Because those are just things. There's not even really any good stories behind most of those. To really understand my experience with one of my favourite things, you've got to go back 4 years. In fact, probably 5 years. Client after client, weekend after weekend booked. 27 weddings all throughout our summer. Clients who loved our stuff, loved what we did, gave us creative freedom on their wedding day. Back to when I was fresh off winning Photographer of the Year or any other kind of international accolades. Back to when I thought I was living the dream that I'd always been after. And then something happened. Now, it's not unexpected. It's not out of the blue. We knew this was coming 9 months in advance. In fact, we probably planned for it a year or two in advance. But my son Leon was born. My second child, I'd been there before, but something about Leon was different. I didn't know what was happening at the time, but my life started to change. I started to go through a period of depression, the deepest, darkest lows that I've ever experienced in my entire life. I was tired, sleep deprived. I was anxious and stressed about caring for this new baby. I was working from home with a new baby at home. I was trying to be a father, photographer, business owner, husband, all in one. And we know that's not easy. I was coming home from a wedding and it was amazing, amazing wedding. And I turned to my wife and I said, is this it? I don't feel it anymore. And I made a decision that at the time felt so right, so unbelievably right. I decided to retire from full-time wedding photography. It felt right in my heart, it felt right in my head, it felt right everywhere. Here I was, climbing to the top of my game. And I effectively gave most of it up. At that time, and for the next 2-3 years, he was not my favourite thing. We had some tough times in those early days. Some really tough times. But I underwent a transformation. And what happened to me during that time was something that I'm continuing to explore to this day. But it was effectively what I refer to as a change in identity. I went from being a photographer, business owner, entrepreneur, creative, whatever, to being a father first and foremost. Now, all those other titles, all those other identities, they're still there with me. They're still important. But that identity as a father is on top. This little guy made me realize this. This little guy helped me understand that with that identity change comes different priorities, different focus, different things that I want from my life. I still want to be a photographer and I still label myself as a photographer. I love creativity. I consider myself a creative, almost first and foremost. I still run my own business. Now I'm a mentor, a coach, a business owner, an entrepreneur, a creative, a photographer. I'm all of the above. And I've realized now that I can do all of that. Are they just labels? Are they identities? Can I do more than one? Yeah, I can. As long as I remember that my identity as a father is at the top. My primary identity in life is being a father. Everything else needs to slot in underneath that. As long as I remember that, As long as I do that, I'm finding that I'm happier than I've ever been. Believe it or not, this little guy, through the pain that he put me through, helped me to realize that. So that's my experience with what is now one of my favorite things.